Welcome to the Metal Prognosis. My name is Lee. Now in today's video, we're going to be talking about setting up a studio. Now I've come up with 10 different things that I feel are really important to think about while putting together your own little studio. And I've subdivided up into three different aspects. So firstly thing is restricted space, because we don't live in a perfect world where we have all the space we need. So I'm working in a very restricted amount of area that you can use to set up your either recording studio, recording hub, or tracking station, or whatever the case might be. So first is space, second is budget. To try to keep the price down, but without losing too much quality from what you're actually doing. And the third thing is practicality. Why I recommend, not really recommend, but what inspired me to set it up this way over doing other ways. Now I will say that there's absolutely no sponsorship or endorsements for this video. So all the brands that I do bring up in this video are just brands that I've bought just off my own back for my own reasons, but no other ones. And yeah, this is gonna be fun. So let me put the kettle on. I'll hop in the other room. We'll get out of this studio and reset up in a whole different environment to really give the best insight that I can of actually setting up a small mobile recording hub or mixing station or whatever you like to call it. And then we'll come back in here afterwards for a couple of other little thoughts after that as well. Okay, I've got my tea set up here and my little workstation here, a little space here to get happening. So whether this is a little going to be set up for a recording hub or listening back little space for you, or mixing, or whatever the case might be, or tracking, I'm going to just throw you 10 different things that I feel like should be considered and is really good talking points to run through, especially when working on a budget. So to run through, I've divided up into two different sections, so a 5 and a 5. So the first 5 we're going to be running through is equipment. So the first bit of equipment may seem super obvious, but it will be super bad if I didn't mention it, is a computer. And here is a little computer I have here. I'm not going to run into the specs and all that of computers and all that, because yeah, that is a huge long list, and it could be, depending on what you actually want to do, is how powerful you want to do with it, and how you really want to utilize it, if you're using it more than just for a recording hub, or for audio I should really say, because that could be multiple things. So if you're using it more than audio, then that's just a completely different talking tier there. So to keep it simple, here's my computer. The second thing, which also should be obvious, but very bad if I don't mention it, is a DAW, so a digital audio workshop. So I just chucked Reaper on here. Now I've spent all of about 30 minutes in Reaper, so I'm definitely not overly au fait with it, but I can kind of find my way around it. And the more I will use it, the easier it will be and smoother it will be. But I thought it'd be good to have Reaper here as well as Cubase in there for these videos, just to give it a little bit of variations and show different things you can do with either of them. So, hey Piper. The third bit of equipment I want to talk about, and this is going to take a little bit of backwards and forwards, so bear with me, because at first you might think, what the hell, is I have a little Behringer, sorry Piper, little Behringer U-Control, or a UCA 202. So this is straight USB, so the only power it needs is going straight from the actual laptop, which is cool. Now it has only 2 ins and 2 outs here, which I think they're called RCAs, I'm not sure. And if I am wrong, I apologise, because I will be referring to them as RCAs throughout the whole thing, because I can't remember if they are called something else. So 2 ins and 2 outs. Now that might seem like a little bit of a problem if you're setting up your own recording hub here, but I do have an answer for this, which is coming up right now. So the next bit of equipment that you need, which is very, very important, is monitors. So what I've got here is I found some old monitors that I used to own that I pretty much used until they died, because I loved them and enjoyed them that much. And I found them again, so I went out and bought them. So they are the Behringer MS16s. So let me just grab them and plug them in. Now, the good thing about these speakers is, at the back of them, I'll put up a picture from the back, they have the RCA cables here. So we can just chuck them straight into the output of our interface. Very simple, very straightforward. There's no way I can really put this all up to display to look pretty. But I will move that cable there. The next thing you really want to think about after this is we've got to get sound in here. Now at the moment we've only got the RCA cables. So if you had, there's something I prepared earlier, a guitar jack, and they're going to help you. They are not going to play nice. So my solution to this, and I will elaborate more on this in a moment, but here is something I had in arm's reach, which is a little mixing console. Now I had one of these lying around. This was actually my old vocal fallback mixer I had set up. So when I was working out of a few different rooms and I had a vocal room, I set this up for the vocalist so they could set their own levels in their cans for when they were doing vocals. So it just eliminated a little bit of the backwards and forwards between me and the vocalist, or acoustic guitarist, or whatever we needed. I think I used this for fallback for drums a couple of times as well. Just made things a lot smoother and a lot easier when the musician could just sort out their own levels and they were happy. There's some tracks they need to change or they need to muck around to find their own comfort zone. But we're going to utilise this for this little setup here. And the good thing about this is you got your main outs up here, but you also have the RCA outs there. So that is exactly what we are going to do. We are going to put this around my back. This is the power. So run the power back there just to keep it somewhat clean. There is that. And then we have some RCA cables here. We're going to go out and then plug it into our interface. There we go. So that's the basic equipment aspects. So they're the 5 things to think about when actually doing that as a kind of like a checklist to make sure you've got everything. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the 5 practical aspects that I want you to think about while you're putting this all together. So we ran through the equipment side being the computer, the digital audio work station or the program that you use to capture the sound, the interface that you need to use, because I would never ever on any circumstances trust the laptop speakers and mics. There's so much noise and processing stuff happening there, and they definitely do not invest much money in speaker quality either. So even for listening back to judge mixes, I would never ever do that. So getting an interface for that is definitely the way to go. Hey, Piper. And the other thing is, talking about speakers and all that, is actually getting decent monitors to be able to hear back what you're actually, a clear representation of what you want for your mixes or for your tracking, depending on what you're using it for. And the other one is a mixer, which I'm going to explain in a minute why I feel like this is very important with this setup here, because with this audio interface, you can't really plug anything directly into. So let's run into the practical aspects then. So the first thing I want to touch base on is headphones. With this setup here, getting headphones in, you've got 2 different aspects of doing it. So when you're recording certain sounds, say vocals or acoustic guitar, when you're actually recording them, you don't want them coming straight back out of the speaker because you're going to get some spill going in there of the actual take that you're doing. So, for example, if you're doing acoustic guitar, you might be having a metronome running in the background. You don't want those metronomes being caught up in the sound as well. It's all right with electric guitar because that's a direct input, so you're not going to hear any of the clicks or the backing drums or bass or whatever the case might be coming through. Same as vocals. When you're recording vocals, even if you're just recording ideas, you don't want the drums, guitars, and all the backing or whatever other backing instruments you've got coming through there. So that's why headphones are very important for that regards. So we have two different options with this setup here. We have headphones coming straight off the audio interface, which is really cool. Or with these cool Behringer MS16s, you've got headphones running straight through the front there, which is super convenient. So if you've got this hidden away, if you want to keep that out of sight, out of mind type of thing, or this just might be an easier reach depending on the cable or how it's all set up, it's nice that you've got both those options there. The second thing I want to talk about, so number 2 in the practicality, is input level. And this is where the mixer comes down in this regards. So if you're recording dry guitar in a lot of audio interface situations, the signal comes in too hot. So having a mixer here, just to be able to alter the level, to be able to bring it down and work on it, is just not only convenient, but very practical. Very practical and very smart way of just doing it, really. So then you're not running into unwanted clipping and then working into digital distortion, which when I say digital distortion, I'm not talking about the fun stuff that we normally do here with like pedals, but the digital distortion where the wave is too much there and it breaks up and you cannot fix that. Once it's there, it's there. You can try edit it out, but you can still hear it. And I've come close to getting away with it sometimes in projects and all that when people have thrown me files, and it's not fun when something like this can easily fix it. The other thing which I really like, I don't know if my tea's covering it, actually, sorry. The other thing I like about having this type of setup is this audio interface has 2 ins. So most audio programs pick it up as a left and right. So having a left and right here, and this interprets it as left and right, gives you 2 tracks. And with having a mixer like this, you've got an XLR where you might want to plug a microphone straight into or something else, or a DI box, or you've got just a straight 1/4 inch like a guitar cable, you can go straight in there. So you've got more options just with there. But you've also got options of doing like mini multi-tracking. So if you want to record, say, you playing guitar and singing, you can do that on one take through here. You put your vocals on one, your guitars on the other, pan them extreme left and right on the desk here, and then you can just bring up 2 mono tracks on your workstation in your computer or your audio program there, and do it in one take. So that's really, really convenient. It can open up a lot of different options for you on how you can be creative and how you can approach it. So I'm definitely a big fan of using a mixer in that regards there. The other thing I want to talk about is the 4th practical aspect to it, or 9 for anyone that's really counting at home, is the mobility of a setup like this. So this here being a little laptop, some small speakers, your audio interface, as I mentioned before, the good thing about not needing power for this and the power running straight off the laptop is that's one less power outlet you're going to need. Now, if this is a permanent setup at a place, probably wouldn't matter at all. But if you want to use this for a mobile audio station to actually move it around to go to different projects or go different houses, this is super simple. You could arguably fit this into 2 different laptop bags. One bag for like the main laptop and its power things and that, and the other one for the speakers and the mixing desk here, because it's all very compact and small. And anyone that's actually worked in media before could probably suggest or could easily know of different carry cases that they use for a lot of the equipment that could fit this in extremely easily and just hold in one little bag. So moving this around and setting up, well, you saw how quickly it was I set it up, and I've been babbling, so it's definitely quick to get out and get stuck into it straight away. So the mobile aspect is very, very convenient there. If you're either renting or need to move, even moving room to room in your house, or as we spoke about before, going off location and to somewhere else, this works really well. And the last thing I want to point out about the practicality aspect, the number 10, is the price. I'm going to run through a few prices of these to give you a rough idea. This is all in Australian dollars, but yeah, I'm not the best at converting, and I don't want to be held accountable for converting because we pay taxes on import taxes and shipping and all that as well. So depending on where you're actually getting it from, they might not apply. So firstly, the audio interface. This cost me brand new $24. $24 to get a really clean signal coming through. So if I turn this on and I just put that on, we're getting no levels coming through here, no little peaks, no nothing with all this. So that's really handy. So this isn't creating any unwanted noise while nothing's plugged in, which if we were using the laptop internal microphone and speaker, I guarantee you that would be making a bucket load of unwanted noise before we actually even plugged anything in. And you don't want that, that's not good. So this is really good to help keep the silence rocking. And it's, you know, it's plastic. It's not durable, but you know, for the price range, I think it's a really good little bargain. So that was $24. These speakers here, I could talk a lot about these speakers because this is the second time I've owned a copy of these, and the first ones, I utilised the absolute living crap out of them. I use them for everything, but I might save that for another video because otherwise this will go on for over an hour. But these speakers, the first time I bought them was many moons ago now, but I think it was around about $280. About $280, which I thought was an absolute bargain because once I plugged these in and heard the quality and heard what I could actually do, it blew me away, and it really opened up me as an engineer of how I could approach things and how I was working from my own home studio compared to always having to go and hire studio spaces and other things I did to try to survive and grow back then as an engineer. But recently I just bought them for brand new $138. $138 is, in my opinion, an absolute bargain for quality versus price you're actually paying. It definitely, the quality outweighs the price immensely in regards to these. The other thing is this mixing console. Just getting a 2-channel one with an XLR and a 1/4 inch or guitar cable options is still extremely cheap. I think I paid, and this is many moons ago since I got this too, but it was definitely under $100 to get this. Because as I said, I got it originally just as a fallback mixer, so people could listen, musos could listen back easy enough. I've actually still got the sticker with the different things I had on there, so musos could look at it and do their own levels to kind of cater for their own mix. Yeah, but for this purpose, I'm re-utilising this for this part here. So yeah, definitely very, very cheap. Laptop, I won't go into prices because they vary immensely. I got this one secondhand, which even secondhand throws a whole pricing budget out the window because, yeah, who knows what it could actually be. So there we have it. There is a basic rundown of a mobile studio. And I could go into more depth on how you could add something like, let's see if I can grab it, the UX Solid Studio to run straight into the mixing desk to get an amp and cabinet simulation running through there instead of needing to mic up and be loud, so you can do silent recordings. I like to call it silent recordings or direct recordings with something like this, which takes up little desk room as well. You could chuck the guitar directly into here and use a virtual instrument to create your sounds for you, which take up no space, it's all in the computer. So the options from here are absolutely endless. So just before I wrap up with my final thoughts and elaborating a little bit more on this back in the other studio, I will say the only thing that would be cool to change would be, which I didn't get, mainly because I didn't want to spend the money on it. I'm not going to spend the money on one video when I'm not endorsed or sponsored at all, would be to raise these speakers. It would be nice to be able to raise them up to ear level with a small little desk speaker stand, which you can get pretty cheap. I've seen them out there for cheap, but yeah, I just wasn't keen to invest in them for the purpose of this video because, yeah, you do need to be practical about your money, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. It's a budget mobile setup. So that is definitely a talking point about getting some small speaker stands to get these up to ear height. So if you are doing some serious mixing, you want to be able to capture that sound as best as possible at ear height. But if you're just tracking guitars or just capturing things, then if you're on a desk, it's no problem. That's fine. It's when you're actually doing mixing and delving in deep into that part, that process of the project. Sorry, had trouble getting it out. That's when it becomes more vital to have those at the best level for you to be able to capture it with the best possible setup. So let's move on into the other studio and have a quick little chat to final up this little video. All right, if you've made it this far in the video, I definitely haven't talked your ear off too much, so thank you very much for sticking around for this little part of the video as well. So that was lots of fun putting that together in the other room there, working with the restricted space and working on that either recording hub or mobile studio, or however you want to utilize it. I think mobile studios, I think, is a good title for it because I think that's what it can be best utilized for, being everything so compact and small and put together. So now I just want to point out a couple of things as quickly as what I can. Is I have the complete native instruments audio interface here, which is what inspired me to use to come up with the studio during lockdown. I put together this little studio for a muso to help do some tracking at home. And what I thought was really cool about this one was it has the RCA outputs here. So if they had those speakers, they could easily plug these straight into them to get to utilize those. And at the front, this had a mic and a guitar input, or an XLR and a 1/4 inch. The only issue I had with this was when I started working myself with this equipment is, and nothing against this at all, firstly, I'm not going to rip on this and say it's bad, because it could work absolutely perfect for you. But the reasons why I didn't use this compared to using the little Behringer UA202, I think it was called, is this you can only have one running at a time. So either the XLR or the 1/4 inch. So it's got a switch there where you can do it, where you can pick one or the other. Not a big fan of that, so you can't do any dual recording with it. And I don't like the fact that you can't have 2 1/4 inches in there or 2 XLRs in there. So if you're recording, if you want to try doing actual real amp and speakers and mic them up, you don't really have the capacity to do mic blending and things like that running through this. So yeah, as I said, nothing against that, but that was a huge thing. But the main thing that really deterred me away from this compared to the setup I had there was the gain. When you turn this all the way down, with my active guitar, it wasn't enough. The guitar would still be peaking coming through with a dry signal. Now, I touched base with this in the other video where I did a split box where we had the same issue with that. When I split it off, one went into my amp head here, if I remember correctly, and the other one went straight into my audio interface. As soon as it went into the audio interface with the one I've got hooked up behind me, the UR44 by Steinberg, is way too much signal was coming through. And how we did the work around that was, I got my EQ pedal, which I didn't really care about the EQ aspect, but because it had a master volume, I got to turn it down 6 dB, and that was enough to then control the signal in going through there. So I used this equivalently as my mixer, as I would in the other room there, as I did an example before. So when you're dealing with dry guitar recording, especially, because I feel like that's the most common, or would be extremely common, but same with vocals and anything else, is if you don't have a mixing desk to control the actual volume, then you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. Even with this studio I've got set up here, I've got, this is my input, so I've got this going into my audio interface so I can control all the levels. Now it's got all EQs here, but I don't very, very rarely touch them these days with this, because I get a good signal coming in and use this purely for panning if I'm doing like blending of different microphones or speakers or other trickery, whatever it might be. And just the volume, and that's pretty much it. And the good thing about if you have a mixing desk is you have the ability to evolve from that if you want to. So I've got some decent size, or full size racks here, but you can get the Euro size racks which are smaller, or even smaller little devices too, which you can use for inserts. So like I've got my little compressor here as an insert in here to help with cleaning up any dry signal as well. Pretty much just to make my life easier, so every signal that goes through the computer is more controlled and more even and easy to work with. So if you do have a mixing desk and you're wanting to evolve from a recording hub like I had in the other room, it's really easy to buy something small and cheap to help evolve your tracking capabilities from where it is, compared to if you just had an audio interface. Because audio interfaces, I feel these days, are put under way too much strain, and people are expecting way too much out of them, when it should actually be at a mixing desk console. So it should be worried about the signal going into it, more so about how much it can actually handle raw signal being thrashed into it. So there are some thoughts, there are some ideas, and hopefully it's inspired some conversations and just different ways of thinking, and how you can actually approach setting up your own studio on a budget of not only financially, but a budget of space as well, which I wish I thought about that the first, because that would have been a great way of setting up the example for the intro of this video. But we're here now. Really look forward to seeing your thoughts in the comments, and yeah, see what else I can do with now. I've got that all set up on other videos I can utilize that with, because I probably will do a couple of other videos using that studio and dragging files from there into here, and how we can go backwards and forwards, and because these days working out of multiple studios is extremely common. So yeah, I might have to do a couple of videos on that as well. But always, if you've got any suggestions or any thoughts towards or against that, definitely let me know. And thank you very much for being around and sticking around for these type of conversations of me purely just talking. And yeah, actually, I did forget to do some guitar playing. I might go back there after this, do a little bit of guitar playing, because I did all this setting up and actually didn't show you any signal going through. So I'll do a quick cutaway now of me plugging stuff in and doing guitar. All right, so I'm quickly back again, because I thought I didn't really actually show any sound examples. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to plug this all in. So we'll go out, in. So get some distortion happening, and let's just get a little bit of sound happening here to show you that, yeah, the setup can actually work. There's one thing just plugging it in and going, there we go, it's all ready to rock. It's another thing to actually see it alive and happening. So bear with me. All right, just plug this all in. There we go, that's all there. Power, power, power. There's it in there. Plus it's always fun actually playing, which is what we get down to in these videos, isn't it? We do this so we can actually play and do our thing. A guitar pick. So it might be a little bit crap in regards to the sound quality, because you're only hearing it coming through here and into my microphone I've got on my chest, but we've got sound. And just got my Djenttinic little distortion pedal there plugged into my Solid Studio, straight into the mixer. And yeah, it doesn't take up much room. And straight away we've got some sound coming through. So there you have it. So there is a really basic example of just getting some sound straight in there, which I absolutely should have done the first take, but I didn't, but we're here now. So thank you very much for sticking around even for that. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and I definitely should have thought about that while I was in that room doing that at that time, but we're here now. Thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and chatting with you once again, and I absolutely look forward to chatting with you again next time. And if this video is in the background, that's absolutely understandable because visually you didn't need to see all of this. So I'm wrapped to keep you company whether you're staring at the screen or just having the audio in. And until next time, please stay safe.